There's something powerfully attractive about a man who has mastered his emotions, not suppressed them, not ignored them, but learned how to carry them with wisdom and restraint. For younger women, emotional stability in older men is not just a preference. It's often a deep, unspoken craving. It offers her a kind of calm assurance she may not have experienced before. In a world where emotional impulsiveness has become normalized, a man who doesn't get easily rattled, who doesn't lash out or shut down when things get tense, becomes a source of comfort she can't help but be drawn to. You see, it's not always about the flashy appearance or the youthful energy. Yes, those things have their place, but the kind of connection many younger women secretly long for goes far beyond the surface. It lives in the way a man reacts or doesn't react when tested. When he's faced with disrespect, disappointment, or unexpected challenges, and instead of lashing out, he remains composed and grounded, that's when she leans in closer. That calmness becomes a mirror that reflects her own anxieties back to her, but now they're soothed just by being in his presence. She starts to trust that she can bring her full self flaws, fears, ambitions, and all without being punished for it. And that's rare, because many women have experienced situations where emotional outbursts from men have left them walking on eggshells. They've seen how unpredictable some men can be, how ego and immaturity can hijack a moment and turn it into a storm. So, when she encounters a man whose energy is grounded, whose responses are measured, and whose emotions are deeply understood and well managed, she recognizes the value immediately, even if she doesn't fully know how to explain it. It's the way he listens when she speaks, not just hearing the words, but sensing the emotions behind them. It's how he doesn't try to fix everything, because he understands that sometimes what a woman needs is presence, not solutions. It's how he holds space for her, even when she's being emotional, irrational, or vulnerable, without mocking her, minimizing her, or walking away. That's emotional maturity, and in a world full of emotional games and shallow connections, it's gold. This kind of man doesn't lose himself in confrontation. He doesn't panic when things don't go his way. He can feel his emotions without letting them drive the car. That level of internal discipline doesn't come from reading books or watching motivational videos. It comes from experience, from life, from lessons learned the hard way. And it's exactly what makes older men so alluring to younger women who are tired of chaos and inconsistency. He becomes the calm in her storm, and it's not just about being calm, it's also about being consistent. When a man is emotionally stable, he doesn't say one thing today and another tomorrow. He doesn't promise her the world when he's in a good mood and then disappear when life gets tough. Instead, he shows up every time, and that consistency builds trust, which is something many women are desperate for, even if they don't say it out loud. Younger women may enjoy excitement and passion, but underneath it all, they crave a love that feels safe. A love where they don't have to guess what's coming next. A love where the man's emotional climate isn't changing with every passing wind. What's even more powerful is that emotional stability allows for deeper intimacy. When a woman feels safe emotionally, she can open up more fully. She doesn't hold back. She allows herself to be seen. She shares her desires, her fears, her childhood wounds. And that's when a true emotional bond is formed. The kind of bond that creates not just attraction, but devotion. So, when we talk about what younger women secretly crave in older men, we're really talking about this deep desire to feel emotionally secure. To feel like she doesn't have to mother a man emotionally, to feel like she can lean on someone who's strong enough not just to carry himself, but sometimes to carry her too. That kind of emotional foundation doesn't come from playing games or pretending to be someone you're not. It comes from becoming a man who has faced his darkness, wrestled with it, and come out the other side with a deeper understanding of himself, and make no mistake. This doesn't mean being emotionless. On the contrary, it means feeling everything but being in control of what you do with those feelings. It's strength, not stiffness, sensitivity, not softness, a quiet confidence that says, I've been through enough to know how to handle this. In the end, emotional stability is not just something younger women are drawn to, it's something they desperately need. Because in a world that's constantly shifting, filled with superficial connections and emotional turbulence, the presence of a grounded, emotionally mature man becomes more than attractive. It becomes irresistible. Confidence has a language of its own. It doesn't need to shout to be heard. Younger women are not captivated by arrogance or showmanship. They are drawn to a kind of self-assurance that feels calm, rooted, and quietly powerful. When an older man walks into a room and doesn't need to compete with anyone, doesn't seek approval, and yet somehow commands attention, that is the kind of presence that lingers in her mind. It's not about acting superior or putting on a performance. It's about being deeply comfortable in your own skin. That type of confidence is rare, and it's exactly what younger women silently crave. There's a difference between the man who tries to impress and the man who simply expresses who he is. The former is trying to be chosen. The latter has already chosen himself. That's the kind of energy an older man brings when he's done the inner work, faced his insecurities, and no longer needs external validation to feel valuable. His confidence is not built on compliments or conquests. It's built on life experience, on surviving storms, and learning who he is at the core. And when a woman senses that, something inside her softens. Because she knows she's in the presence of someone who isn't easily shaken, someone she can lean on without fearing that he'll collapse under pressure. Confidence in this sense is quiet but firm. It shows in how he maintains eye contact without being intimidating, how he listens more than he speaks, and how when he does speak, it's deliberate not to fill silence, but to offer something meaningful. Younger women are intuitive. They can sense desperation masked as charm. But when they meet a man whose confidence doesn't need to be broadcasted, they feel safe. They feel intrigued, and most importantly, they feel respected. What adds even more depth to this attraction is how this confidence translates into his interactions. He doesn't need to play games. He doesn't engage in emotional manipulation. He knows what he wants and isn't afraid to say it. That honesty is refreshing to a younger woman who's grown tired of unclear intentions and emotionally unavailable partners. There's something deeply satisfying about a man who can express his interest without being pushy, who can pursue without pressuring, and who can love without losing himself. But alongside confidence is another quality that young women deeply yearn for, something that's even more rare than self-assurance. It's the ability to listen deeply, fully, without interrupting, correcting, or minimizing. In a world full of distractions, a man who can put down his phone, lean in, and truly hear what she's saying becomes unforgettable. Listening is more than a skill. It's a sign of emotional intelligence. It shows a woman that her thoughts, her voice, her emotions matter. And that's something many don't experience often enough. Older men often have the edge here because they've had time to learn the value of patience. They've learned that listening isn't about waiting for your turn to talk. It's about understanding. It's about reading between the lines, recognizing the emotion behind the words, and responding in a way that makes her feel seen, not just heard. And this kind of listening builds a bridge between them, a bridge where trust can walk freely, where openness can grow, where intimacy begins long before physical connection ever happens. When a younger woman meets a man who listens this way, it catches her off guard in the best way. She realizes she doesn't have to compete for attention, doesn't have to overshare or perform just to keep his interest. She can just be, and that is the highest form of emotional safety. It's not just about solving her problems or offering advice. Often it's about holding space, letting her speak, process, even stumble through her thoughts without fear of being judged or corrected. And here's the secret most men miss. The more a woman feels understood, the more she opens up. The more she opens up, the deeper the emotional bond becomes. And the deeper that bond, the more she invests in the relationship, not out of obligation, but because she wants too. Because she feels emotionally nourished in a way that she's rarely experienced before. So when you combine quiet confidence with deep listening, you create a magnetic force that younger women cannot resist. It's the combination of being strong yet gentle, present yet not overbearing, secure yet open. It's the energy of a man who doesn't need to dominate a room to be felt. A man who makes her feel safe not just physically, but emotionally. A man who doesn't need to prove his worth because he's already living in it. This is why younger women often find themselves drawn to older men, not for money, not for status, but for this deep emotional presence that brings calm to their chaos and clarity to their confusion. It's not a secret they'll always speak out loud, but it's a truth they feel deeply. In today's world, there's an overwhelming amount of talking, on phones, in texts, on social media. Everyone wants to be heard, but very few are truly listening. That's why, when a younger woman meets an older man who genuinely listens not just with his ears, but with his full attention, something inside her shifts. She begins to feel emotionally seen, and that feeling, it's rare, it's valuable, it's what sets him apart from the rest. Because younger women don't just crave attention, they crave understanding. They long to be listened to with presence and patience, not judged or rushed. Older men who carry that calm, attentive energy become the ones she feels safest around, even if she can't quite explain why. It's not about nodding along while planning your next sentence. It's not about throwing solutions at her when she's just trying to express herself. It's about showing her, through your silence, your eye contact, your body language, that what she's saying matters. That she matters. And when a woman senses that, she doesn't just open up, she relaxes into the moment. She stops performing and starts being real. That authenticity is the foundation of true connection, and it starts with a man who knows how to listen deeply. Older men who have lived through emotional highs and lows, who have navigated relationships, careers, and losses, tend to develop this emotional depth naturally. They've seen enough to know that not every problem needs to be solved right away. They've learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can offer is your presence. Just being there, steady, grounded, undistracted, can be more healing than any advice. That emotional presence connects directly to something even more powerful, purpose. A man who knows his purpose doesn't move through life aimlessly. He's not distracted by trends or peer pressure. His time, his energy, his attention, they're all intentional. And that's intoxicating to a younger woman who may still be figuring herself out. When she's around a man who walks in purpose, who lives with direction, it ignites something within her. She sees what life could feel like with a man who's not just chasing momentary thrills, but building something meaningful. It's not always about the job title or the paycheck, it's about the energy. Purpose gives a man direction. It gives his words weight, it gives his actions consistency, and when a younger woman steps into his world and senses that every move he makes is deliberate, she feels drawn to it. Why? Because deep down, she's searching for something steady, something bigger than surface-level flings and temporary attention. She's searching for meaning, even if she's not aware of it yet, and a man with purpose represents that. He's not easily swayed by moods or opinions. He knows what he stands for. He knows what he's building. And when he invites her into that world not to complete it, but to share in it, it feels different. It feels safe. It feels exciting, not because he's trying to impress her, but because his life already has substance. She's not his project, and she's not his escape. She's a choice he makes from a place of fullness, not lack. That's a powerful difference. Younger women are often surrounded by men who are still trying to find themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a part of growing. But when she meets someone who's already done that inner work, who's already wrestled with his identity, failed, grown, and come out wiser on the other side, it's a completely different experience. He becomes the anchor in her storm, not because he wants to control her, but because his presence offers clarity, direction, peace, and what ties it all together, the deep listening, the purpose, the confidence, is emotional safety. This is the most craved, yet least spoken about desire that younger women carry, the ability to be vulnerable without being shamed, to speak openly without fear of being dismissed, to express emotions and not be labeled too much. Emotional safety isn't created through grand gestures. It's built slowly, through consistent responses, through patience, through compassion. And older men who have learned how to manage their own emotions are often best equipped to provide this. He doesn't flinch when she's upset. He doesn't shut down when she needs reassurance. He knows how to hold space for both of them. And that makes all the difference, because the truth is, emotional safety makes everything else possible: trust, intimacy, growth. Without it, relationships remain surface level, but with it, a younger woman begins to let go of her emotional armor. She becomes softer, she becomes more herself, and that's the space where real love begins. So when you bring all these elements together, a man who listens deeply, lives with purpose, and creates emotional safety, you begin to see why younger women are drawn to older men in a way that goes beyond physical attraction or lifestyle perks. It's something deeper, something quieter, but something that stays with her long after the moment ends. There's something undeniably powerful about a man who lives with purpose. He's not just waking up and going through the motions. He's not chasing trends or trying to fit into someone else's expectations. He knows what matters to him, what he's working toward, and why. And that clarity of direction radiates in everything he does, how he talks, how he moves, how he handles challenges. For younger women, that kind of focused energy is magnetic. It's not just about ambition, it's about alignment. A man with purpose doesn't just move for the sake of moving, he moves with meaning, and that kind of man is rare, especially in a time where so many are still trying to find themselves. When a woman meets a man like that, she sees more than just his goals. She sees his asterisk vision asterisk. And that vision excites her because it offers a glimpse of something bigger than just a casual connection. It shows her what it's like to be led by someone who isn't lost. He doesn't just talk about ideas, he executes. He doesn't just dream, he plans. And that grounded masculinity, that ability to asterisk build asterisk, whether it's a career, a mindset, or a lifestyle, creates a gravitational pull that she can't easily ignore. Because let's be honest, deep down, she's not looking for a man to complete her, but she is looking for someone who knows where he's going so she can feel safe exploring her own path beside him. And what makes it even more impactful is how purpose shows up not just in grand gestures, but in the everyday. It's in how he keeps his word, how he shows up on time, how he maintains discipline even when no one's watching. These small things are quiet indicators of a life rooted in intention. And that consistency becomes attractive, especially to a younger woman who may be surrounded by peers who are inconsistent, distracted, and emotionally unavailable. The man with purpose stands out not because he tries to, but because he is different. But even with all this purpose and focus, there's another quality that makes him even more desirable: emotional safety. This is something that younger women crave deeply, even if they don't always articulate it. It's the subtle yet powerful feeling of knowing she can be herself without being judged. It's the comfort of expressing emotion without fearing it will be used against her. And it's the space to feel heard, held, and respected, not just when she's smiling and easy to be around, but when she's vulnerable, frustrated, or unsure. Emotional safety is what turns attraction into connection. It's what allows a woman to open up, to let her guard down, to show parts of herself she's had to protect for years. And when she feels safe, she gives more, not because she's asked to, but because it feels natural. That safety allows her to explore love without anxiety, to build trust without second guessing, and to experience peace instead of performance. And that's the kind of relationship that lasts. The men who provide this safety are the ones who have done the work. They've learned how to manage their own emotions, so they're not triggered by hers. They've faced their own wounds, so they don't project them onto someone else. They've stopped trying to win every argument or dominate every situation, because they understand that power isn't in control, it's in connection. And for a younger woman who's still discovering the depth of her own emotions, being with someone who can hold space for her without judgment is a gift. It's rare, it's healing. Now imagine this emotional safety existing alongside deep listening, a man who doesn't just nod, but actually hears. Who doesn't just wait for his turn to speak, but reflects on what she's saying, who remembers the details she didn't think anyone noticed. That kind of presence is what allows a woman to truly feel seen. And in a world where so many conversations are shallow and rushed, being deeply heard can feel almost spiritual. It goes beyond romantic interest. It taps into her sense of identity and worth, and what ties it all together is confidence. Not loud, showy confidence, but quiet, unwavering confidence, the kind that doesn't need validation. The kind that doesn't crumble under pressure or change depending on who's watching. It's the energy of a man who knows who he is, what he stands for, and what he will and will not allow in his life. And when a younger woman feels that energy, it gives her permission to drop her own masks. She doesn't have to impress him. She doesn't have to prove herself. She just has to be real, because his confidence creates a space where authenticity is valued more than perfection. So when a woman encounters a man who combines purpose, emotional safety, deep listening, and real confidence, she sees more than a partner. She sees possibility. She sees growth, she sees peace, and it's in that peace that real attraction takes root, not just for the moment, but for the long run. There's a charm in maturity that can't be faked, a strength in stillness that doesn't need to be explained. One of the things younger women secretly crave in older men is emotional control, not suppression, not silence, but control, the ability to feel, to respond, not react. It's the difference between a man who explodes over little things and one who breathes through the chaos and responds with clarity. When a man has developed emotional discipline, it doesn't mean he's numb. It means he's mastered his emotions instead of being mastered by them. And in a world where emotional outbursts are often normalized, that kind of composure feels safe, rare, and intensely attractive. Younger women live in a time where emotional inconsistency is common. One day it's hot, the next it's cold. Promises made today are forgotten tomorrow. So when she meets an older man who shows emotional consistency, who speaks with intention, keeps his word, and doesn't crumble under emotional tension, it becomes a magnetic contrast to what she used to. He's not stoic in a cold, detached way. He's grounded. He knows himself well enough to remain centered even when things get hard. That kind of emotional security is like a breath of fresh air to someone who's grown used to unpredictability. This emotional control doesn't mean he never gets upset or never feels hurt. It means he's done the work to handle those emotions with maturity. He doesn't blame, he doesn't guilt trip, he communicates, he reflects, and because of this, she feels like she can trust not just his actions, but his asterisk reactions asterisk. That trust allows her to open up more, to bring her full self to the connection, because she's not bracing for drama. She's not guarding herself out of fear. Instead, she finds herself relaxing into the calm rhythm of a man who knows how to lead himself first. And when emotional control is paired with purpose, listening, confidence, and safety, it creates a complete experience. These aren't isolated traits, they feed into each other. A man with emotional control is often a man of purpose because he's not led by impulse. He knows how to delay gratification, stay focused, and move toward long-term vision instead of chasing instant comfort. He's also a better listener because he's not listening to respond. He's listening to understand. And this kind of intentional energy creates an atmosphere that younger women don't just desire, they crave because it brings structure, direction, and trust into the connection. Now, mix that with confidence, not the performative kind, but the deep-rooted, silent strength that speaks volumes without saying much. A man who is confident doesn't need to dominate conversations, show off accomplishments, or prove his value. He just he stands in his truth, he respects himself, and that self-respect sets the tone for how he treats others, including her. She can sense that he's not trying to win her over. He's inviting her into something real, something steady. And that invitation becomes irresistible when she realizes it's not coming from neediness or ego, but from genuine presence. What makes this combination even more compelling is how these traits influence the way he makes her feel. With him, she doesn't have to question where she stands. She doesn't have to overthink every text or analyze every word. She can rest, she can be soft, she can express herself without fear of being too much, because his energy is strong enough to hold space for her. He doesn't shrink from her emotions, he doesn't dismiss her dreams, he welcomes all of it because he's secure in himself. That kind of emotional safety changes everything. It allows her to evolve, to grow, to feel deeply connected. She may never say it out loud, but younger women often feel emotionally starved in modern relationships. They're tired of guessing games, of shallow intentions, of emotional immaturity dressed up as masculinity. What they long for is depth. They want someone who listens, someone who holds them when they're struggling without making it about him, someone who leads without controlling, someone who is firm without being forceful. That balance is found in older men who have lived, learned, and leveled up not just externally, but internally. And at the core of it all is presence, a man who is fully present in the moment, with his eyes, his energy, his attention, is more attractive than any six-pack or flashy car. When she's speaking and he's actually there, not distracted, not rehearsing a reply, but listening with care, it changes the way she sees herself. It reminds her that she matters. And when a woman feels like she matters, when she feels emotionally held, mentally stimulated, and spiritually safe, she offers something in return that no game or strategy could ever produce: her full, honest, unguarded self. In the end, what younger women crave in older men goes far beyond the surface. It's about emotional control, quiet confidence, deep listening, purposeful living, and the rare ability to create emotional safety. These aren't traits of perfection, they're the result of reflection, experience, and self-mastery. And for a woman who's ready for something real, these are the traits that make her heart settle and her soul say, "This is different."